What up, nerds? Jerod Santo here with Changelog. I'm just putting the finishing touches on a very special episode of the Changelog podcast all about Vim with some special guests like Suz Hinton, whom you may know from her awesome Twitch streams. Suz was gracious enough to sit down for a few minutes and Vim with me just to give everybody a taste of what her Vim life is like. Take a look.
So this is how I have my Vim set up. So you can see the Dracula theme. And
looks nice. Is that your status line? What'd you call that? What plugin is that?
Vim Airline. Vim Airline makes it really nice. And it's got the Git stuff as well. It tells you what file you're on. You can put emojis in there. Like, I think that
what's
people
with the
don't
skull and
realize
crossbones down there?
Yeah, just like how I feel every day, you know. With code, it's just like, oh, God.
Gotcha.
But I want people to know you can make Vim look nice because it's important to have readable code. It's important to have an environment that you're looking forward to programming in. And I think that some people keep their stuff so minimal that you can get this impression that Vim doesn't look nice. And it's just absolutely not true. So it is possible. So yeah, I really like Vim Airline. It just does a lot to just make things a little bit nicer. And choosing the right colors can also do something for that as well.
Yeah, this looks great.
And so this is where I have Nerd Tree. The one thing that I didn't get time to cover about things that I like, because it's sort of plugin specific, is bookmarks in Nerd Tree, which I love. So let's say you have this directory and it's just really nested and hard to get into, and you don't want to fuzzy search all the time. You can actually just bookmark a directory or a file, and when you select that, it jumps you right in, and it makes that the root directory, which is super nice. So I do really like bookmarks for that reason. So then I can just like open this file. So I don't have it mapped to a hotkey, but you can just do bookmark and then name it. And then whatever your cursor is on in Nerd Tree, it'll bookmark it for you.
Nice.
And capital B will toggle your bookmarks on and off. And you can edit that file directly too. So if you just want to like write it, it's just name, tab, and the path.
So that is actually just a file inside your directory tree?
No, it is a global file. So keep in mind that you will see the bookmarks for all your projects. I've tried to make it minimal here.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I've cleared out a bunch of my bookmarks.
Project-specific bookmarks.
It's a limitation. I tried to get around it, but I just don't know how. But
fair enough.
For something like at work, it's so helpful because one of the repos I work on is just huge and it has so many nested layers. And there are two specific directories I work in all the time, and I need to swap between them all the time, and it's very helpful for that.
Mm-hmm.
So in live streaming culture, people like to be able to point out your typos, they like to suggest refactors, and they like to ask questions about what code you're writing. And sometimes that can be really passive because people are just writing in the chat, and then they're waiting for you to look at the chat, and then acknowledge it, and by then you might have moved on to other code, and just it's a little bit sort of disjointed. It doesn't feel very real time. And the way that a few people solved this in VS Code, credit to them, they made extensions that hooked into the chat. So people could write certain commands and they could highlight a line of your code.
Really?
So if you're looking for a bug, they might highlight a specific line because they think that's where the bug is. That's like so cool, right?
That is very cool. Yes.
And other people on Twitch, like I'm not the first to do this, other people on Twitch have written plugins that allow them to hook up their chat. But for me, I was like, I got the FOMO again about VS Code. And I was like, but you can totally do this in Vim, right? So the way that I got around it was I created a Vim plugin, and it's on GitHub, so we can share this in the show notes. But what happens is, let's say I'm just like, do, and someone joins my stream, I can bring the chat over. So this is like my Twitch chat. And so let's say that I join the stream and I'm just like, why is Suz writing CSS as one line? What is this? And so
I was wondering about that. Is that what you normally do?
Yeah, I figured.
I was kind of enjoying it. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
So I learned this in the same job where I had pressure to change from light mode to dark mode. We had minifiers on our JavaScript and on our images and on our sprites, but we didn't have a minification script for our CSS. And so the solution was everyone needs to write it on one line to save on performance. I'm not saying that was logical. Right. And I was like, I hate this. And then
started to like it.
I started to be okay with that. And then when I quit that job, I stopped doing it. But for this specific Svelte project that I work on in my spare time, I was like, this makes sense because I don't want this file to be really long and I don't want to have to import it. I want it all in the same file. And to be honest, I can just scan horizontally so much faster. So it works for me. I don't know. But someone might be like, what is going on with your CSS? So they might just pick line 36. So they'll be like, line 36, why does your CSS look like this, right? And then I don't know if you saw that, but if we go back
there's the eyeballs.
Vim, there's like these little eyeballs, right? So if I go to line 36 and you look underneath Vim Airline, it has like a handle, which is Noobcat, because it was me that wrote in the chat. That's my Twitch handle. And it says, why does your CSS look like this? And so I thought it was cool that if I'm just like not paying attention to the chat at all, someone can just be like, oh no, here's the bug, or like, why are you writing CSS like this? And they just want your attention. So this was the plugin that I wrote. And so I just wanted to show that like Vim doesn't have to be its stereotype. Like you can do like really funky things. Again, you can use emojis and you can do all sorts of stuff that you can do in other browsers. It's just the drawback is you either have to learn Vimming, which is a little bit of a weird language, or you have to kind of figure out how to like run Python scripts inside of it, right? So it's just like a different paradigm to learn. So yes, I thought that was really fun. And then we found a security vulnerability with it. And so we've been fixing that.
Send you a message that has a script tag or a Vim script.
So maybe? I did actually, come on. I did actually check for that. So
okay, sorry, I don't give you enough credit. I'm just trying to think of like what would be the most obvious thing to work. But.
That was the most obvious thing, right? But it was actually Tim Pope who found the security vulnerability. And that's because he's like very, very good at Vim. So he knew some of the intricacies of how you can prepare something to get around it. You know, it's like if you know the basic SQL injection techniques, you think you're covered, but then some like SQL expert comes along and is like, nah, you can also do this. He kind of did that. And it was very, very helpful to me where he just said, okay, you need to like disconnect this plugin right now because you have a vulnerability. And that happened live on the stream.
While you're streaming?
Well, it happened live on the stream. So it was really fun. He popped in and did it. Yeah. So that is the plugin, cool. But I think it's really, really fun. And so it is on GitHub if you want to look at it. I've thrown it up there. I haven't really touched it for a long time, but I thought it was hilarious to kind of show that you can do this with Vim. But also people were like highlighting line 69 and writing nice, and that was hysterically funny too. And so I would just see all these eyes pop up, and it was just like along my entire status bar, like a whole list of people saying nice. And so it kind of just adds to the culture of live streaming, you know, it's very fun.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us. That's very cool. And I did not know you could do that. That is so neat. And I could imagine all the ways you get trolled during your live streams.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Feature. So there you have it, a quick peek into Suz's Vim life. She has a lot more to say about it. Here's a preview from the podcast.
When it's your own box, you tend to do all the dodgy stuff, you know, like you do all the cowgirl stuff on the server, like you modify your Nginx config live and things like that. And usually that's done in a shell session. So really the most practical options that you have are something like Nano or Emacs or Vim or Vi. And it's installed out of the box on so many Linux machines. And so it's just always there. And so usually I would pick it up if I needed to use it. And it was usually within that context. So just like messing around in Linux without some kind of display drivers or GUI.
Follow the link in the description and listen to the entire episode. In addition to Suz, you'll hear from Julia Evans, Drew Neal, and Gary Bernhardt. Cheers.